Hello, Namaste, and welcome to TeachConnect Talks, your strategic space for education, leadership, and innovation. It crossed my mind, how can I help recruiters, HR, principals, and leaders who run the school and do the school administration? There is nothing like finishing school in India for the teachers or for those who want to promote their leadership from coordinators to principals or from HODs to coordinators or change and shift of position. There is no such kind of guidance given. All comes out through internal orientation during the professional development. This is how we have been trained. But I have this a novel idea of having podcasts for y'all, the HRs, teachers, principals, recruiters, so that you will have commitment towards building a quality school with a unified direction. You can take the great schools with great teachers to be best schools with best teachers. Hey, I'm your host, Dr. Padmavati Tungaturti, and you're listening to episode number one, exclusively crafted for school recruiters, principals, and HR leaders who are having that passion and commitment to do a wonderful sort of administration. Therefore, each episode, one after the other, if you can wait on a particular day, maybe say Friday or Saturday, then I would like to give my knowledge to you all as to how you can have these tips on doing that administration, both for academic administration as well as school administration, administrative administration, because in India, it's the responsibility of the principal to take over the academic administration and leadership along with administrative leadership, though she has or he has the in charges and the full team. That's how. Then I thought that how can I help the this segment of senior admin? So I thought podcast would be a good idea. I named this as TeachConnect Talks. This is a completely strategic space. If you wish to talk to me, or if you feel that you can share your ideas with me, you can send a direct message to me. Then we can talk, have an interview, or have a discussion with you so that just one line of yours, if you drop direct message underneath this podcast in the description, if I give my number, telephone number, or if you can send a direct message, that will be really wonderful. We shall stay connected. And today we are diving into a theme that's shaping the future of education leadership. Today, the leadership is in one level. How are we going to bring it to the next level? That is, the topic is really fantastic, emotional intelligence in school leadership. School leadership has to be done, however. But how can emotional intelligence bring in that exactness of connectivity with the students, stakeholders, teachers, etc. at school? And how you, as a recruiter, can use this hire better, lead smarter, and retain stronger teams. We all wish to hire. Definitely, there is a dearth of teachers. We hire very frequently. When we are hiring frequently, are we hiring the right candidate? And how are we hiring smartly so that we get what we want? And also, how are we trying to retain these stronger teams? All this happens for sure with the help of emotional intelligence and emotional leadership and place. Hope you all agree with me. Also, let's begin. Recruiters often ask me, how can I find teachers who will stay with me for a good chunk of time? Maybe I'm not expecting too long too. I'm expecting maybe for 5 years. 4 to 5 years is a good time. Who will align with our values and who will lead learning and not just follow the curriculum? How am I going to find such teachers? Specifically, alignment with our values, with the values of the organization, with the vision of the organization, with the vision of the national education policy. How are we going to align ourselves? So, when this question is in the minds of the recruiters feel that they have to introspect every time. It's a dart in the thin air. Like, am I going to hire better? Is this SOP enough for teachers to hire the best teachers? But even then, we'll have teachers leaving the way because we mostly depend upon the qualifications of the teacher and the prior experience of the teacher. Then, if the teacher has a good prior experience, then why is she changing the job then? The emotional leadership should be in place at this point. That's how we have the recruiters often have these kind of doubts within them. That's where emotional intelligence will come. It's not just a buzzword, it's a recruitment strategy. Even for recruitment, we believe in having strategies. We need to have a strategy for everything. Therefore, emotional intelligence is the strategy. Now, what's emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence, first, let us decode the word emotion. When we feel an emotion, say we're feeling anger, now what happens inside the body? There is a certain amount of stress in the body, maybe the nerves get tightened up, and the emotion we feel, it crosses into the behavior. Like we just fold our arms or you look angry with the contact, then that's how the feeling is converted into behavior. Now, how is the teacher able to control these kind of emotion? Because she has to talk to students, she has to talk to the parents, she has to talk to the co-teachers, because the feeling is converting into this physiological change, and that is being converted into behavior change that ultimately will lead to throwing tantrums. Now, what's emotional intelligence? When we have understood the word emotion, now emotional intelligence starts with self awareness. There are, of course, five major components of emotional intelligence, but the first one is self awareness. When an event occurs in the classroom, is the teacher aware of what's going on inside her first when the event has occurred? There must be something right happening, there must be something wrong happening. Is the teacher able to decide on whether the event is right or wrong? Is the teacher aware of herself? How is the behavior changing? And is the teacher aware of the physiological changes happening? Or is she angry and showing that anger on the student? Or is she extra happy, not finding the balance too? And what is she doing? What's the physiological changes happening in her when she is extremely excited? Is the teacher able to know these feelings? That's the first component. The second component is self regulation. Right or wrong things definitely do happen in the class. They are students, they are young. The children behave in a certain way. We got to tutor them. For that, is the teacher able to stay calm during these excited moments as well as difficult moments in the classroom? What is the response of the teacher when an event has occurred? Is the response in line with the happening in the classroom? This is what we call as self regulation. That's the second point. That's what how the teacher is interacting with the students during this time, or say with the parent. How is the teacher interacting with the parents during tough situation? This comes under self-awareness, moving to self-regulation. Then the third component which goes inside the inner layer is the motivation. Is the teacher motivated enough to just do her job? Is she inspired to do something great for the student? Are they intrinsically driven to teach? Or is the teacher just feeling the teacher has to complete this particular window of 35 to 40 minutes per day and this particular bigger window of one academic year? What's the motivation? How is she staying motivated? The motivation must be different for different windows of the class. Say, for example, there is a sports day. The motivation of the teacher should be in a different inspirational level than when the regular classroom where the teacher is facilitating the content happen. Now, the fourth component is empathy. Is the teacher able to connect with the student and try to understand where the student is struggling emotionally? Academically, if a student is struggling, that is interconnected with the emotion of the students. This is the connection, direct connection, because cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. Affective domain is the emotion, cognitive domain is the learning, and the psychomotor domain is the skill beyond learning, behind learning. Therefore, this is just the one third of the learning. Academics is one third, it's not everything. Whereas empathy and having emotions is another one third. Therefore, that's the social skills, the fifth one coming into picture. Is there a well balanced interaction of the students in the classroom with their peers, with their seniors as well as juniors? Are they able to have that collaboration amongst themselves? How is the teacher's collaboration with the staff members? If there is any classroom conflict, how is the teacher going to understand this conflict, be empathetic towards the student, and how is she going to find a solution which is on the higher level? Therefore, these five are the qualities that define sustainable, culturally aligned hires. We normally ask questions to teachers when they come for an interview, but how are they reacting towards the answer? The filter applied in the mind only depends on or focuses the academic intelligence of the teacher. But what about the emotional intelligence of the teacher? And what about the psychomotor skill? What about the skill of presentation of the star interview? That is, there is a situation, there is a task, there is an action required, and the result comes on its own. Where is the principal HR applying this filter in the mind? What is that information that the brain is processing? This is required to be known. Now they have, we know, or we have now come to know that EI, the emotional intelligence, is a game changer for schools. Therefore, you as a recruiter must prioritize emotional intelligence, because the thing that the candidate's resume comes to your table means that the cognitive level of leadership is being monitored by the HR, by the lower segment of the office staff. When they come to you, you are only left with the emotional intelligence. If the principal or the final authority is trying to interview the candidate, It should reduce the mishire. The principal should try filtering the CV, the resume, beyond the surface level. Therefore, it should boost teacher retention because emotionally intelligent teachers form deeper bonds. It is necessary to build up a connectivity with the students. This will be helpful in forming groups during the project work. This will be helpful in forming the groups during the classroom learning, classroom facilitating, and also when they are trying to collaborate in cooperative learning, collaborative learning. That's how the peer interaction is necessary. Peer interaction, with the help of this peer interaction, the students will get to know each other, try to handhold each other, and try to consider for each other, try to collaborate for each other. And this also creates a culture of trust, empathy, and collaboration. Exactly, this is what 21st century schools need. We've always been talking about 21st century skills, and that is creativity, communication, collaboration, computation, critical thinking. These are a few C's. There are many other skills which need to be built up because the skills are adding up with the level of employability skills which are required for jobs. That's how the culture of trust need to be in place. Empathy also should be in place. And if you have ever had the teachers leaving mid-year, then what's the reason? Why are the teachers leaving mid-year and joining another school? This is the catch here for the principal to observe. The teacher is leaving the school and joining as another teacher in another school. Here, is the teacher leaving the job as a teacher, or is the teacher leaving the school because of the people? Yes, you are right. The teacher is leaving the people. Therefore, it's a responsibility of the teacher to see that the while interviewing itself, the attitude of the teacher should be considered because she does not want, the principal does not want to leave the teachers. The principal wants the teacher to complete at least the academic year. If the teacher goes away, the poor classroom performance will be in place. Then, how you hire the teacher need to be understood. Mishires in the beginning of the career as a principal are okay. But later on, what is the standard operation procedure you are following as a teacher? What is it you are following? I'm sorry, standard operation procedure as a principal. What is your level of understanding about the resume? What the HR, what the lower level of scrutiny team is unable to observe, it is your duty as a principal to change the lens and observe. It requires a little time to read the resume, understand, decode every word written there. That's how the teacher, when she gives a resume, must wait for the call and she enters the room of principal for the final interview. Then, no further mishire. The teacher is to be told that the mandate is working for one academic year. What are the strategies, standard procedures, policies of the school need to be explained too. Now, if you're going to a very practical way, there are four ways you can assess emotional intelligence. For example, ask the interviewee the right reflective question. Or you can say, tell us about a time a student refused to engage with your lesson. What did you do? If you ask such a question, the teacher must find out zero in about a student, filter a student, and what lesson is she going to teach, or is she teaching, or has she taught in the classroom? How the students have not engaged with the lesson. It commonly happens. Every interviewee teacher must have this story in hand. There will be scenarios where the students will disengage from the lesson. There must be some story behind why the student is turning so disengaged. Therefore, if you observe the demo lessons or you ask a question with the help of the situation, the principal will understand what's the task behind and also the action taken. How did the teacher maneuver the class to bring it to her focus? Then observe the demo lessons with real time pressure. That means there shouldn't be any disruptions, and how is the class going on, and how is the lesson facilitated, what's the response of the student, how are the 35 minutes being bifurcated, chunked, divided, so that the teacher will have to be accountable for every minute spent in the class. Because it's already a prior scheduled demo lesson, the teacher needs to bring resources also for the classroom. Then the principal's duty is to have structured rubric. At TeachConnect, we help with the rubrics. If you can go read the blogs there on www.teachconnect.in, you have rubric-based tools for assessing the mindset, the empathy, and the self-regulation. You can also use ATS friendly software so that you can scrutinize the resumes and what resumes are culturally fit for your school. You need to have only those resumes with you. That's how you need to have an ATS software in place so that the teacher's resume screening is simple. ATS resume is not something which adds out of the blue. ATS resume adds what is there in the already given document. They upload a document. Out of that document, they get the structured resume. The structure of the resume changes with the ATS. The content doesn't change. The principals have to note this point, and that's how AI resume enhancement feature is also there on TeachConnect, wherein the structure depends well. Therefore, for a structured resume, the point by point, it is easy to scrutinize, and the principals need to avoid these strategic mistakes. Three key mistakes they normally make. The first one is get blinded on the certificates and the list of certificates and the number of years of experience. As a certificate is normally an official document. It's a license given from any school, college, or a training institution. It tells that there is a course completed. It does not tell the skill acquired. This is how sometimes certificates will be a sort of misconception. And during the recruitment, if you are working on past school experience, please check what sort of past school experience are you working on. Are you working on something like experience with for inclusiveness? You will only come to know that you have strategies which the teacher is aware of. It's not the strategy whether the teacher has implemented in the classroom or not. There is a difference. If the teacher is aware, she will write a jargon or a buzzword over there. If the teacher is really implemented the context in the classroom, then the teacher must be definitely be able to let you know in the star interview technique. The teacher must be given a situation and the teacher will let you know how the teacher has used it, and what is the outcome. You must also work on the outcome. The process is important. All ears to the interviewee. When a job seeker is telling you something, you must pay attention to what the job seeker is speaking to you. And the next one is ignoring the attitude and the cultural emotional fit. This is the highlight. If the attitude of the teacher, the misalignment with the students, empathy, if you feel that emotional, intelligent question, reflective learning is not being spoken about by the teacher under any circumstances in any of the questions posed, because the content questions doesn't come to the principal. The content question must have already been finished. Therefore, we are working on the emotional leadership of the teacher and also the presentation skill, the kind of psychomotor skill which the teacher is very well aware of. That's how principal must stop hiring just to fill vacancies. There is no dearth of teachers when it comes to profiles, because in teachconnect.in we have n number of resumes of teachers, those teachers who have relationship with us and they read the professional development blogs. It's a wonderful thing. They will be NAP aligned and you can pick them up. You can interview them for the NAP readiness also. Don't hire a teacher because you have to fill a vacancy. Because you're planting the seeds of a school's future. You're not hiring just for the sake of spending that class and the session. What's the teacher's content? What's the teacher's commitment? How is the teacher skillful in maintaining empathy with the student? You must hire with strategy. You must hire with insight too. Don't forget to visit www.teachconnect.in. You must know how to interview the teachers for their emotional intelligence and what sort of words are they using during the interview is a very important thing to be noted. If you want, you can as well interview the teacher in a panel so that each one of you will be able to observe a different thing. So let us summarize the actions today. So what are we going to understand? That we are not going to hire anybody out of the blue. We're not going to do any mishire. We want long term teachers. We want emotionally intelligent teachers. This is how you need to be aware of emotional intelligence as a strategy. Therefore, if you can download the emotional intelligence recruiter toolkit, which is there with us in the description box for this podcast, you can download it, keep it with you, and avoid mishiring. It takes a little practice, it takes a little time, it takes a little dedication to hire the best. So, thank you so much for this, and please do attend Leadership Masterclass. Get trained in strategic hiring, wherein the agenda would be to hire, lead, and inspire. The masterclass will have future ready school leadership for the principals, and this podcast is going to work as a finishing school for principles for the alignment of NEP and also how to be a great leader to lead a quality school and reflective learning and teaching, the hiring culture, the Teach Connect tools for recruiters. So many things are coming up in the masterclass. Please do attend that masterclass. And thanks for listening to this podcast for so long. Hope it has added value to the principals, HR, recruiters. And please do wait and stay tuned in for my next leadership masterclass. Thank you so much. See you soon. Bye.